Hi, welcome to my channel, Reader Woman. My name's Judy, and let's talk what I've been reading and not reading for the first 6 weeks of the year. I know, I couldn't do it for January. It's middle of February, or a little past the middle of February, and yet I felt a need to tell you about it. I ended up doing quite a bit of reading for me. I mean, you know, usually if I get a couple of books out, 2 to 3 books, I'm pretty happy. And in January, I definitely had some compulsion to read. And having seen Little Women twice, I decided to sit down and reread Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I do a lot of reading on my Kindle, and so I just got a free copy of Little Women and started reading. It was not the book I thought it was, or the book I remembered as a kid. I always loved books about sisters, and I'm sure that this was one of the first books that I read about sisters. I loved Anne of Green Gables, but there was something about these March sisters that captured my imagination. That plus all the movies that I saw, and so yeah, I always loved this book. It took me a while to get going on it, but once I did, I really was happy about it. I was really happy that I did read it. I loved the first half. I don't think you could do anything better. The second half, is still harder to take, and I've been thinking about it and why that is. I put out a lot of videos about Little Women, the movie, and all these thoughts, and the book, and all my thoughts about it. I put out, like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 videos about Little Women. And I was surprised when Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse actually hated this 2019 version directed by Greta Gerwig. I mean, he literally hates it. I watched his video and was shocked. And I didn't write anything to him directly under the comments on his video because I just felt like we couldn't agree. And then I was surprised when he wrote on mine. And so we had a back and forth. And he mentioned an article from The Guardian about another woman who absolutely agreed with him and hated this version. And her contention was that when directors and screenwriters take old texts, that they need to put it in the context of the time. And I read it, and I thought, really? I think that's why we enjoy seeing remakes, is because it brings something from the current atmosphere, our current culture, into these old classics. And so while I was reading the book, I did, at first, I just found this whole homily, you know, look to God, you know, better yourself, da-da-da-da-da, just went on and on and on, and I had problems with it, okay? And I still don't like the ending. Like I wrote in my last comment to Jason, I always felt like Jo marrying Professor Bear felt more like a prison sentence than some magical meeting of souls. I still, after finishing it again, it still felt as though it were something that Louisa May Alcott had to do in order to sell her book. I thought that Gerwig did a good job of kind of showing that aspect of what Little Women was. I mean, she didn't write it thinking she was going to have a bestseller. And so for me, there is a part of me that just still doesn't like that ending. And that's where that Greta Gerwig movie gave me hope, a sweetness, a lightening of that prison sentence, having to take care of this man old enough to be your father. So anyways, that was the first book I picked up and finished. Then, because I'd only halfway read it, I finished off Meg, Jo, Beth, Amy, The Story of Little Women by Anne Boyd Rioux. And I'd read through all the movie versions and television versions, and I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is thorough. I did enjoy finishing it. I really did. It gave me some insight, particularly into the character of Beth, and it was good to complete the book. It was good. It was a nice finishing touch on my whole Louisa May Alcott compulsion to read. Then I read an amazing book, Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. If you are not doing the Cromwell-a-thon, you need to. You need to just stop what you're doing. Start with Wolf Hall. Tonight, I just finished Bring Up the Bodies, the second in the series. I really have to think about it before I can actually talk about it. It was very, very stirring, I have to say. Wolf Hall, I loved. It showed Thomas Cromwell in a relatively rosy light, you felt positive towards him in a way you do not feel coming out of Bring Up the Bodies. Anyways, and then the other thing I loved about the book, why the hell did she name it Wolf Hall? It had absolutely nothing to do with the story. But anyways, I am so glad I found this author. I am so glad I found this trilogy, and I cannot wait for next month when her final book in the series comes out. And this is one trilogy that I'm going to probably go through eBay or whatever, because I do want hardbound copies of all three versions on my shelf so I can reread them and enjoy looking at them and remembering them. Then I read, it's amazing where you find books, okay? And this one came to me a long time ago. I went through my collection of Jo Clayton. She's a sci-fi writer who died in the 90s. And she's always been very dear to my heart as an author. I do tend to reread her books. And yeah, she's, for me, in the 80s, reading science fiction and fantasy, she was one of the first places I found strong women characters who were kicking ass and taking no prisoners. And I still thoroughly enjoy her worlds. And I got into a conversation with a viewer, and he told me that I should go check out the Tor website, Tor.com, that they had an article about her. So I looked on there and I read it, and I was really impressed with the quality of this website. And if you are a sci-fi person, yeah, subscribe. So then I signed up for a newsletter. And I don't know if it's just something that they started this year or not, but I had the opportunity to, you have like 2 or 3 days to download a free copy of something. And so for January, they were offering Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great. It was about two young women in a world where you had pairs. So working together, they amplified each other and could create magic. One would be able to tell the truth. The other one would be able to sense how people's lives are woven together, how we connect with other people. So anyways, it was an interesting story. I thought she did a good job. It was the beginning of a trilogy. It seemed a little YA to me, but I enjoyed it. It was a nice escapism from Wolf Hall. And yeah, I had a good time reading it. So I would suggest signing up for Tor. I really would. I think it was a great opportunity to read something that I would never have bought. So and it's not like it's their latest and greatest. It's more like they are you know, like series that there's 2 or 3 books of, and you can have a free digital copy of the first one. So they're wanting you to buy the rest, which is fine, totally fair. Then the last book that I read in January was Charlotte Bronte, Before Jane Eyre. I tend not to read a lot of graphic novels, but I have to say I was really impressed with, yeah, you can't see hardly at all, but with the depth of emotion and information that this book gave. All I can say is well done, well done. And this is by Glynnis Fawkes, and it's put out by the Center for Cartoon Studies. And I don't know that I'll buy any of the others, but they have Helen Keller, one on Helen Keller, Thoreau, Houdini, and Satchel Paige. And now Charlotte Bronte. So yeah, I saw this on Steve Donahue's channel, and I made sure somebody gave it to me for Christmas. So I decided to go ahead and finish that. Let's see here. Then this month, so far, I just, like I said, finished Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel, the second in her Cromwell novel. I am just full of feelings about it. Really am. It's about the downfall of Anne Boleyn, which, you know, we tend to all know the story, but yeah, it's yeah, hard one actually. And I'm still processing it. I've got a lot of quotes, and definitely I'm trying to find, yep, and I don't have it on here. And I don't remember, well, let's see if I can find it. Hold on a second. With the Tor experiment, for February, they sent out a link to a different book. And I went ahead and downloaded that, and I'll see what it is. That turned into a DNF. It's started off kind of cute, and then I just couldn't do it. I know, it's kind of weird, isn't it? But I just didn't like it. And this is taking forever to load. But let me get you that. So I like brash, funny stories. I mean, I really don't have a problem with that. But somehow, this one just did not do it for me. Let's see here. And I'll tell you why. It's the first book in, oh my gosh, this thing is so totally slow right now. I don't know why. Eve of Darkness. Eve of Darkness, a marked novel by Sylvia Day, writing as S.J. Day. Let's see if you can see that at all. Problem I had with it, it suddenly became all about sex. And I don't mind reading about sex, but I don't know. It just went on and on and on. So, yeah, I just got tired of it. And I DNF'd it. I'm not going to finish it. It just didn't do it for me. And in January, I also DNF'd somebody who I used to really enjoy reading, Janet Ivanovich, Look Alive 25. My stepmother gave me her copy and I started reading it and I'm like, oh, this will be fun. And then it's just like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this series. I'm done with this author. Yeah, I'm just done. Why? I enjoy her humor, but then she's done paranormal and she's done these straight mysteries. And I'm not saying even if this had been a straight mystery, I still would have liked to have read it, but it just didn't feel, I don't know, it just didn't feel fun. I guess that's what it is. It just didn't feel fun. And then when she's going this straight mystery thing and then adding the paranormal thing in there, I'm just like, oh, I don't think this works. And then, yeah, the characters just, they stopped being fun to me. So maybe I should have stopped at 24, although I don't say I've read 24. But anyways, and to finish up, I know I'm way too long, but this will be what I finish February reading, and that is To the Bright Edge of the World by Owen Ivy. This is, I just barely started it. I mean, just barely. Why am I? Page 8. And I got a ways to go. Let's see here. Yeah, about 400 more pages. But this is for my local book club, which I'm leading this book, but also our Whatcom Reads. It's our Whatcom Reads for the year 2020, which is really exciting because in early March we get to go to our local theater and for free get to hear the author speak, which I've had some amazing times hearing the authors. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her read selections and talk about this book. And it's just a great opportunity for our book club to be part of our whole local community. So at this point, that's really everything that's on my docket. And I will be back later in the week to do my Cromwell-a-thon for this second book. And lots of thoughts and feelings. So anyways, I hope you're having some great reading adventures as well, and we will talk again soon. Happy reading, guys. Bye.